Assault on Precinct 13 is a fantastic, gritty 1970s action movie that deserved a review video, and this review does contain spoilers. This 1976 film was one of the very first movies directed by famed Halloween writer and director John Carpenter, and it is a prime example of the low-budget dark suspense thrillers that were coming out in the mid to late 1970s. Taking place in then-present-day 1976 in the fictional South Central Los Angeles community of Anderson, huge amounts of assault rifles and other firearms are stolen and wind up in the hands of violent gang members. After LAPD officers kill 6 of the gang members, 4 warlords of the gang swear a blood oath of revenge against the cops as well as the citizens of Los Angeles. Austin Stoker plays Lieutenant Ethan Bishop, a recently promoted highway patrol officer who is assigned to babysit a decommissioned Anderson police precinct, Precinct 9, Division 13, during the final few hours before it is permanently closed.
But they're closing it down. There's nothing for me to do there except stare at the packing crates.
You want to be a hero your first night out, Lieutenant?
Yes, sir.
Only 1 cop and 2 secretaries remain at the old station house. Sergeant Cheney, played by actor Henry Brandon, and 2 women, switchboard operator Julie, played by future Halloween star Nancy Loomis, and Secretary Lee, played by actress Lori Zimmer.
Are there any facilities left over here?
Couple of cells and a bathroom.
I don't understand why this place is still open.
When gang members brutally kill a young girl named Kathy Lawson, played by future Real Housewives of Beverly Hills actress Kim Richards.
I wanted vanilla twist.
Her father, played by Martin West, grabs a gun and hunts the gang member down. He eventually catches up to the gang members, and despite being outgunned and having nothing more than a snub-nosed .38 Smith & Wesson Chief Special, he kills the warlord. In the meantime, a prison bus, commanded by Officer Starker, played by future Halloween Sheriff Charles Cyphers, and containing 3 prisoners, including notorious killer Napoleon Wilson, played by Darwin Jostin, has to divert from its destination and stop at Anderson's precinct due to a sick prisoner.
Come on, man, pull yourself together. Come on, speak up.
As Bishop and Cheney try to communicate with the devastated and now mute Mr. Lawson, the phone and power lines go out, and dozens of heavily armed gang members begin an assault on the precinct, along with all of those inside.
Cheney just fell down.
It's up to the cops and the criminals to pull together and fight back.
Give me a gun! They're coming down the hall!
John Carpenter had hoped to make a Western film in the style of Howard Hawks' Rio Bravo, but with a budget of only $100,000, he ended up giving the movie a modern setting. He also has stated that of all the films he directed, this movie was the one he had the most fun making. He also took inspiration from the 1968 George Romero horror classic Night of the Living Dead, giving the LA gang members almost a zombie-like dehumanizing quality, making them even more scary. The most memorable scene of the whole movie is where Kim Richards' little ice cream girl Kathy is brutally murdered by a street thug. This scene earned the film an instant X rating from the MPAA. The distributor advised John Carpenter to give the MPAA a version with the scene removed to get an R rating, and then simply distribute the original version in theaters. He did. It worked. Times were different back in 1976. The assault takes place on Precinct 9, Division 13, and many people note that there is no Precinct 13 in the movie. The original title of this movie was The Anderson Alamo. Then the title became The Siege. When no major studios wanted to distribute the movie, Irwin Yablans of Turtle Releasing Organization, a small distributor, loved it and promised to get it to the big screen. However, he came up with the title Assault on Precinct 13 because he thought Assault on Precinct 13 sounded more ominous. I think he was right. When the film became popular in Britain, Miracle Films purchased the British theatrical distribution rights. The man in charge of Miracle Films also entered the movie into the London Film Festival in 1977, giving John Carpenter and the movie much-needed publicity. Carpenter was so thankful to that man, he decided to name his next movie character after him. That man's name, by the way, was Michael Myers. Carpenter wrote the script in just 8 days, wrote the score in just 3 days, and the movie only took 20 days to shoot. He added many tributes to Howard Hawks' Western movies, including naming Laurie Zimmer's character Lee, after Lee Brackett, a writer on the movie Rio Bravo. Lee Brackett would later be used as the name of the sheriff in Carpenter's next film, Halloween. Actor Charles Cyphers, who would portray Lee Brackett, and actress Nancy Loomis would go on to play father and daughter 2 years later in Halloween.
He didn't cut you off.
What are you talking
The
about?
phone's dead.
Maybe the company shut it off early.
That's it. I'm leaving. Lieutenant, you run this station like chicken night in Turkey.
Thanks a lot.
Kim Richards, the doomed ice cream girl Kathy, is the older sister of actress Kyle Richards, who would also have a role in Halloween as Lindsay Wallace. English actor Donald Pleasance stated that his daughter was a fan of this film, in particular of the score, and that it influenced him to work with John Carpenter on both Halloween and Escape from New York. Actress Laurie Zimmer, who portrayed the tough and sexy Secretary Lee, all but vanished following this movie. She became the subject of a 2003 documentary by Moroccan-born French filmmaker Charlotte Slovak called Do You Remember Laurie Zimmer? This eerie documentary, filmed in 2002, shows Slovak's search for Laurie Zimmer, whom she had worked with in the late 70s. Eventually, Laurie Zimmer was found alive and well, married with children, in San Francisco.
Black?
For over 30 years. I'm sorry. 2 sugars.
Actor Mel Gibson gave the movie some publicity back in the 1990s when he did an interview describing the ice cream scene as leaving him stunned when he viewed the film in an Australian theater back in the late 70s. Fans of Mel Gibson who hadn't been familiar with this movie started to seek it out, and it received a major video rental boost. I recall hearing a lot about it back in the late 90s on documentaries about John Carpenter that would play as special features at the end of VHS tapes of Halloween. Yes, before special features on DVD, we had special features on VHS. I first saw this movie around Y2K. This movie is notable not just for its gritty late 70s take on American crime culture, but also because of its influence on future historic films, including but not limited to Halloween. And like Halloween, I expect this movie to eventually be entered for preservation into the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress for being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant to American history. I highly recommend Assault on Precinct 13.